Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing. Today, we're going to break into the brief Punisher One Last Kill. Before we dive into the details, though, let's check in with our other hosts and see what we're doing. We've got Justin, we got Cody. Justin, why don't we go ahead and start with you?
Sure. It is unseasonably warm here for May. I live pretty far north, and we had been having like 50-degree temperatures for a while, and it rocketed up to near 80 today. So I decided, I might as well mow the lawn before it really gets hot because it's supposed to continue like this for a couple of days. Um, so yeah, first time this year. And I don't know if there's something new that's taken root in my lawn or what, but yeah, I got done with it, came inside, and I was having some sort of allergic reaction to something that was out there. I don't know if it was from the heat, from the pollen that's just around this time of year, some combination of the two. But yeah, I spent a good chunk of my day being rather uncomfortable and itchy and yeah, just not having a great time. But besides that, after
Good
having,
stuff.
yeah, now that I finally have a break from games that we're covering for the podcast, I've decided to go back, dip into my Steam library a bit, try to work on the backlog. And I've been playing through Sea of Stars, which is I don't think it was made by a Japanese company, but it is very much a JRPG. Standard like, three character party format, turn-based combat, but with some nice twists. Like certain spells have like timing that's involved in them to get the full effect. There are like combo moves. There's, ways you can like get elemental effects without actually casting spells and using your mana. It's actually a really kind of neat system and very pretty. Like the pixel art in this is just, especially the lighting effects they worked in. It's top notch. So yeah, I'm glad I decided to finally give this one a shot. And yeah, if you like RPGs, so far I'm maybe like 6 hours into it. Yeah, it's pretty solid. And before you ask me, Cody, yes, I did get to the other ending in Pragmata. We can talk about
Oh,
that. We can talk about that later.
Ooh,
So,
snazzy.
interesting.
Justin, rank it amongst the Final Fantasy games.
oh geez. See, that's kind of a loaded question for me
That's
because
why I asked it.
I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy fan. Well, granted, I haven't finished this one yet, but I would say it's probably I would put it higher than Final Fantasy IV, lower than Final Fantasy V so far.
Ooh, that was
Um,
actually very helpful for me. Thank you.
oh, sure thing.
Do you want to know how it
Right.
ends?
Final Fantasy V?
No, Sea of Stars.
Oh, I'd prefer to see it on my own,
Oh, okay.
but
All right.
unless you're like making some sort of weird obtuse, 2001, it's full of stars sort of like crossover
No, I was going
reference
to
or
tell you how the
something.
game ends.
Oh, you've actually played this?
No, Google's free. I mean,
Oh, this is
Oh
for now.
my.
For now. Cody,
She's a dude, isn't it? I know it. I've seen Ace Ventura. I know
oh,
that's the answer to everything.
I was just going to tell him if he wanted to see the ending, finish the game. But anyway,
Oh,
my end over here, what can I say I've been up to? I just chaperoned a trip to Atlanta with some students for the Scholastic Bowl National Championships. That was a pretty fun trip. Went pretty smoothly, all things considered, minus a couple tiny airport mishaps with one parent that I felt terrible about, but everything was worked out. So,
Was it in at the Atlanta airport? Worst airport, in my opinion,
um, didn't have a problem. No, I mean, the airport was fine
this time.
this time.
oh.
This time. We also flew Delta both ways, which I gather we had, by the time we checked in Chicago on Friday, I think there was maybe 10 people ahead of us in the security line total.
Wow.
And we were in the terminal with Delta, but somebody else said they were in the terminal with, I forget, one of the other airlines, and it was several hours long, they said. So
Ooh.
maybe I caught a break on that. I don't know. We went with them just because of flight availability of when we needed to come and go. But whilst I was there, I did finally start my next video game as well, which I know Dave's excited about. I started Blueprints finally, um,
Ooh.
and played I think 5 runs through the house so far. Solved a couple little tiny puzzles here and there, but honestly, I'm like I don't know if I feel like I'm kind of stuck a little bit. Like I need to solve more puzzles or discover
Important question.
something, but
Important
it's not
question.
happening. Yes.
Do you have a notepad by you while you're playing?
Do I have a notepad?
Yes.
I have a piece of paper that I scribbled a couple things on.
Okay. Make use of that. Trust me.
Okay. Yeah, it's been interesting so far, but also like I played one run in my hotel room, but the other four runs I think were all on a plane, so it was probably not the most conducive atmosphere to be taking notes and paying attention to things. And beyond that, I think I'll just do quickly here. I think we are up to 0415, I believe, on packs of Upper Deck, looking for the Ted Williams card.
Oh,
So, but I
Oh,
did just get six more boxes that arrived today. So
damn.
sweet mercy.
now at 12 boxes, I will stop there for a while because that's
Yes.
more than a year's worth of cards at this point.
What are you doing with the cards you have opened?
I started making a full set in some old binder pages I had just to have a little fun and just see if I got a complete set out of it. And it's been kind of interesting to like see almost like the 90s card era of like how they tessellate the packs basically of like
Hmm.
that you open one pack and the pack below it is almost sequentially like the next card versus each of the cards in the pack above it
Oh.
with very minor variations. And then yeah, now that I'm getting some doubles, that's also kind of following a pattern. So that's been kind of like mathematically interesting to me as a kid who like never, just went and bought a box of them at once. Um, yeah, but I don't know. So we've got a couple fun ones so far, but there was not really a lot of like subsets or special cards back then either. So it's kind of an all-or-one, but there's a couple tiny things that I'm looking for as well in there yet. So how about you, Dan? What have you been up to?
Excellent. I have been out in my backyard building a goddamn shed. Got it done this weekend. I'm very excited for it. This is all the way from like laying concrete to actually like constructing this monster, which the instructions were the least helpful instructions I've ever used. Actually, I had to go to like a YouTube video for it to actually show like what the piece numbers were for me to look it up and correspond to the bags, which
Did it simply say build shed?
it felt like that. No,
Tools needed, maybe.
but I've seen the lulls ad like 17 times, like an hour. It was just ridiculous. So, but finally done. So that is all done. So now I actually have free time to be able to do stuff. And we finished Ghost of Tsushima, which is still on my list.
Sheesh.
I know.
Gotta
It's
finish
it's
this game.
taffy. I'm chewing it.
Jeez.
All
Okay.
right. So now that we have caught up, let's talk about what brings us here today. Punisher, One Last Kill. This special presentation from Marvel pits John Barathol as Frank Castle once again in a not, speaking of chewing taffy, not chewing the taffy in terms of length. You get in there, you get some kills, and you get out. Lots to talk about. Probably more. Cody's identified earlier. Probably more to talk about in here than the actual length of the show. We'll see how long this is. Let's go ahead and talk about our cast. Obviously, titular character John Bernthal as Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, returning. Any major thoughts on his performance in this, which is, I believe, the third performance as him as the MCU Punisher?
He does a decent job. I mean, the Punisher's never been my favorite character, but he does seem to capture the essence of what the character is. The mental anguish, the PTSD, as well as like the smoldering rage that he carries around with him, just at the state of the world around him. So I mean, in terms of casting, yeah, I think he was a good fit.
Yeah, I think he's always done a great job with this character. I know it's a character just similar to we were talking about Vincent D'Onofrio recently as Kingpin. This is another one where like the actor just loves playing this character and kind of advocates like, hey, can we get this character in more stuff? Like, I think I can. I don't know if like relate is the right word, but performance wise, definitely seems like he just really enjoys himself playing this character, and it's such a physical role as well
Mhm.
that I think of him, I guess, maybe for better or worse, still primarily from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I know he's done stuff since then, but that's still kind of like that. And then to this are kind of my 1-2 with him. And it's just a brutal role that he plays. But I think he's always done a really, really good job, like portraying that trauma through the character. That was what I loved about the Netflix shows of his as well, which, were also really violent. But it's interesting that like the most violent Marvel property is also in some ways the most emotionally deep character as well, because I was telling Justin in the Daredevil episode to go watch those just because he's somebody who has, you understand his trauma better if you've seen the Netflix shows. You kind of see like him more with his family there, but I can't see this character and his performance and not on some level think that like, there's days in my life where I keep some of those like really angry demons at bay. And if I had gone through all of the stuff this guy has gone through, like, I don't know, man, I feel like I'd be a raging cesspool of violence and want to fuck the world too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was a line back in Daredevil season 2. Like, hey, Red, you're just one bad day away from me. In
Yeah.
terms of like, yeah, you're just all it takes is you to hit that threshold that you tip over, and now it's not about knocking the people out; it's about knocking them down.
Love it.
But I think they continue to give his version of Frank Castle a great, and this is kind of what you both said, that room about it's not just about the rage and the taking it out, it's about the trauma where it comes from, and that it is this fuel thing. I think it was a really interesting in this special that it felt like the character had previously kind of been done, or like I'm all worn out of rage, and then this kind of re-upped it and got it ready. I don't know if I felt that character necessarily needed it, but at least it kind of made sense and gave it a little bit more of an arc that gives him a reason to show up in future MCU things, especially like Brand New Day, which we know he's going to show up at least a little. Um, but I mean, John Barathol just continues to perform. Like I can't say that he's a whole lot different than his performance in Walking Dead, but that's still such a solid performance that it's someone I'm going to keep showing up for, even if it is just like Justin said. Punisher's not my favorite character, but
Yeah.
that these productions always bring it.
I think it's also like, I mean, if you were a kid who grew up in the 90s, right? Punisher was really, obviously the idea of like an anti-hero was around then, but like he more than anybody was like that vigilante, take the
Oh
law in
yeah.
my own hands. I'm going to just kill people who are wrong and screw the justice system. I'm going to avoid that aspect of it. I'm going to take down who needs to be taken down, which not to get into too political of commentary here, but there, that's appealing in some ways in 2026 as well.
It's relevant. Yeah.
It's
So
relevant.
let's just put it that way.
Sometimes it feels good to talk about a simple answer to a complex problem.
There you go.
All right. Well, we had a couple kind of reoccurring guests or guests show back up. I want to focus on Deborah Ann Hall as Karen Page, as well as Jason R. Moore as Curtis Holt, both characters from previous iterations of whether in Daredevil or in the Punisher series proper, who got the show back up. So anything from these two characters that really stood out in terms of the performance?
Um, I will say I haven't watched the Punisher show besides this special, so yeah, one of them was kind of a bit lost on me. I was able to piece together what he was, and it seemed like he came across fine. But Karen Page, seemed consistent between Daredevil, Born Again, and this. I mean, definitely seemed like she had a lot of the same delivery, consistent character, that sort of thing. So fine performance from her. I can't really compare. I'm blanking on his name. The other guy's performance to how he delivered it in the Punisher show, but I thought he did fine.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting that they included her in this show. I mean, it immediately kind of ties the universe that much closer just because we just saw her in Daredevil. And if you maybe this is your first Punisher exposure from the Disney era of Marvel, you're like, oh, I recognize her from Daredevil that was just out. So I could see that in there, but it's also interesting just because in the Netflix shows, and even a little bit in Daredevil, Born in season 1, and then referenced in season 2, like she clearly has a connection to this character as well. To the point that in season 2 of Daredevil, part of me was surprised that she finally did get with Matt Murdock because she definitely seems to be pulled a little bit in Frank's direction as well. So her being included in this as yet another thing that was maybe a stabilizing presence in his life that also is now going elsewhere and doing other things that he's away from. Just kind of drives him a little bit further alone, I think.
Yeah, I think it, it was a powerful thing to include her along with the other like major characters of his life, especially like his wife and kids. Which something I really noticed is that his wife and Karen Page were wearing the same hoodie with kind of the skull logo on the back. I don't know what the symbolism of that was,
Hmm.
but it was interesting to see. But it like we've definitely talked in the past about these MCUs and the kind of like connective tissue to other properties and stuff, and like just bringing her in only for a scene or two was enough to yeah feel like it really is connected. This is all part of the shared universe, and it kind of just it builds. Um, so I appreciated that.
Then
Okay,
you
going
mentioned,
from
you mentioned who was it? Curtis, is that the other guy?
yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, he kind of again pops up from earlier. Again, was a stabilizing presence in Frank's
yeah,
life that's not around him now, and this was kind of the Justin, for your sake, you probably picked up on who this was, but more or less it was
Mhm.
like the military service side of him that was there to like help people get through these, traumatic
Mhm.
PTSD type episodes that they're having in civilian life again now.
Mhm.
So a friend, if you will.
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about our one big new character, Judith Light as Ma Nucci. So the matriarch of the Nucci crime family, who uh kind of shows up and puts a big fat mark or a big fat kill order on Frank Castle's head that really tips off the core of this show. What do we think about Judith Light?
So you said she's a new character? I assume she was, like a carryover from the Punisher show itself. So I was thinking, oh, she's a recurring villain and like the only member left of the family. So I figured it was just like a direct continuation from something he did then.
So that's a great point. Let's dive into this a little bit. So the short answer is that there were a couple very small references to the Nucci crime family. I mean, like you could basically replace them with like kind of the Sopranos crime family,
Mhm.
but it's set in New York. This is Marvel's version of it. They're definitely this is from the comics. They existed. There were a couple like named references in I want to say the Daredevil series, but very possibly in the Punisher one as well.
Mhm.
But there wasn't as much like kind of clear delineation in any of the previous shows about like this is the family driving it. It was more like, okay, well, these are some of the higher ups. So it
Okay.
was interesting seeing. So she is a net new character. She was not in any of the previous series at all. But she's like kind of referenced, or at least you know that there probably is some mob hierarchy in terms of
Hmm.
her. It was interesting them bringing her out as a matriarch. It was also interesting them bringing her out as someone who has some physical ailments, who needed some assistance. So that was also really interesting juxtaposed to kind of see her being so intimidating, but also being physically frail, someone that Frank could probably take out without a whole lot of effort. But yeah,
Hmm.
she is net new in terms of the actual MCU series.
Okay. Building off of what you just said about her being, I guess, a paraplegic. Yeah, that I think is a great dichotomy because the Punisher is such a forceful, violent, just powerful character. And the idea that in this special, at least, his biggest threat is someone who he could snap in half with like, without even thinking about it. And yet she's presenting this dire, danger to him and like potentially everyone he knows. I mean, that's a great way to offset, what he is because it's not quite a like a Superman like Luthor sort of thing, but it's this, you've got a on the one side very powerful character and on the other a character who only has their resources, who is to as an adversary, and I think that's always a really interesting formula. So.
Not much here. We can talk later if this is a true plot or not for what we just watched, but she just seems to be the reason for this plot to be here. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does. like just because again she's net new, like there definitely is an element where like how did she like add to this? She also I'll kind of start bringing up a theme I'm going to say a lot later. This felt like Act Three of a movie,
Could have
like
been.
it really like all of the kind of lead up. There were little bits of it in terms of kind of seeing like the other people in the neighborhood that are suffering under this kind of like crime spree. But this really felt like we somehow missed the first two-thirds of some kind of thing, and that she would have had a lot more time to kind of build up and reference. So I would say in the time she had, she was memorable. It was interesting seeing her
Yeah.
kind of be as timid or anything, but yeah, she was basically like a trigger mechanism.
Mhm.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's use that to kind of talk into some of these themes in terms of like why don't I just start with like what's the overall take with all what is this like 49 minutes of this?
Uh, 49, 50, something like that. Yeah, it's short. It's
Yeah, and that's
quite
with
short.
credits, I think, too, is it not?
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, it's maybe 45 minutes dripping wet, but I don't even know if it's that. Um, I don't know. I'm not sure what I expected this to be, but I don't know that I expected it to be this. I was pseudo joking around when you guys joined the call today here that I was playing the Hatebreed video for I Will Be Heard featured in the show, but in some ways this whole 45 minutes felt like an extended music video of like some major rage
Yeah.
metal band that's just kind of out there killing people left and right. I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess I would have wanted it to be a longer property, but it's also very unique, if nothing else, that it wasn't a full movie.
Yeah.
I just question like behind the scenes what questions people asked and what ideas got pitched that they were like, let's just fucking make it. Like it's gonna cost 10 million, but let's do this. It's just a weird thing to exist. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
gonna be fascinating hearing more and more about like where this came from. So my understanding is that John Barathol literally pitched this. This was his idea. This was
Oh,
kind of the
there you go.
equivalent to his like Old Man Logan, where it's like I'm gonna come back like basic. I didn't hear this, but my assumption is like if you're gonna put me into the Spider-Man film, I have to get like my violence out somewhere else. Give me a little bit of time on screen to kind of
Hmm.
like show the Punisher doing some bad shit, and that'll be nice and play nice for Spider-Man.
That makes as much sense as anything, in all honesty.
What if, spoiler, we go to Spider-Man and this is the first 45 minutes of that film?
Oh, right. Sorry, kiddies.
And then Spider-Man's like, nobody remembers who I am. And we're just like, I need a cigarette.
No one cares. We're ruined from that dog being thrown in front of the car.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah, they did not pull any punches in this.
I'm,
No, they did not.
yeah. I messaged you guys and like 10 seconds later was like,
Yeah.
what just
Oh.
happened?
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
I mean, he said in our chat that they don't really pull any punches here. Yes, it's wow. Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad I suggested not watching this on a plane, like you were originally
Yeah,
intending, because ooh,
this is like the Bullseye Diner scene, but
Yeah.
stretched out for the half hour.
yeah,
Oh my God.
I'll also say, in addition to like the pure violence, it also had one of the most like early 90s, like everything is fucking chaos kind of vibes like you got in like Predator 2, where it's just like everything is cocaine rage, like gang violence. Like that opening scene like made such or the early scenes in the city made such an impact. We're just like, oh my God, it's just like everything gone to shit. And I did have a problem in terms of like this being in the MCU, like really no other heroes could show up. It's only Frank. This is the only one who's around in New York to like handle this level of goddamn violence.
especially with how many superheroes there are based out of New York. Yeah, that did
Yeah.
seem
It's
weird.
always been the problem with the MCU New York, I feel like.
Mhm.
Yes.
Even if it wasn't Daredevil and his new like vigilante helpers, the like Fantastic Four,
Yeah,
or the
Moon Knight's in New
Avengers,
York.
or anybody?
Spidey, yeah,
Doctor Strange is
Spider-Man?
still there.
Doctor Strange, yeah. I know New York's a big city and everything, but come
Yeah.
on.
I think the superheroes, I think, just each have like their preferred boroughs and neighborhoods, and they're like,
Yeah.
that one's not mine.
Sorry, that's not my jurisdiction.
Yes,
I'm way too busy helping this old lady cross the street.
that would actually be I mean, it'd be bad for the MCU, but it'd be a hilarious scene to have one of these properties, like one of them, like pull a little card out of their pocket and be like, "Who's got Red Hook?" No, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's so and so, and like name drop another hero.
No, we switch every other week
Yeah.
into Brooklyn, so it's not my week.
Yeah, or like see Spider-Man start to swing, and then be like, "Wait, it's Wednesday."
Yeah.
Uh,
Love it.
So speaking of the dog and PTSD, definitely something they gave some time to in this was Frank's PTSD and visiting his family's grave, which I mean, all credit to them. I think it was the same headstones they previously showed, so they're definitely keeping it very consistent. But it was really interesting, in my opinion, seeing him visit the gravestones from his family and then having his daughter kind of like show up as a hallucination and talk to him and in some weird way like give him the okay to like go out and kill like he's talking about how like he's done, he's tired, he wants to rest, and he sees the daughter is like, no, you know what, I can kill some more.
Yeah. I mean, that whole scene in the cemetery when he's first there and he's got the gun and he just looks like he's gonna have suicidal machinations there. I mean, that it actually, I should point out, I just watched this about 2.5 hours ago from when we're recording this, so it is pretty fresh in my mind here. But I actually got pretty close to crying in that part. Like, it was really traumatic to me that he was just like, I'm done with it. And just, I don't know, the way he's like thinking back to his family. And I mean, it's terrible. I mean, it's terrible. Well, you guys all know you've all lost people. Everybody's lost people, but it's terrible when you sit and think about who you've lost and who you don't have anymore. And if it's your whole family like that, like he's lost, I mean, it's tough, man.
Yeah. And I mean, kudos to them for attempting to address that. I mean, it's not an easy subject, and it's by its very nature, and it's even harder to try to translate to film, especially in such a short format, and while trying to do it in a way that's not just cursory, you know. But I think they handled it about as well as they could, given the time that they had devoted to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just about not quite 50-50. I clocked a little bit here, but I think it's like basically 25 minutes of like the setup and the trauma, and then like 15 or 20 minutes of the violence. And like that was the show. But like a lot of it was on the trauma, and what wasn't on the trauma was on the fight scenes. So
causing other people trauma.
yeah, well, not for very long, a lot of them.
Right.
Well, let's use that as a transition to talking about the pure violence that is the second half of this, because this does not hope for, because this one started with a like mature audience warning, like, no, we're not joking around, kids, like this is for adults only. I think it's the only MCU property that started this way in terms of like, no, this is pretty serious. And I can see why they earned the title, and I applaud them in terms of like going, because that is the realm of the character. I would look back and go like, you know, Moon Knight deserved some of this as well, but at least you got here. But what do we think of this, the raid in the MCU and the violence that goes along with it?
I thought it was not that they can't, but I also thought it was funny that the disclaimer was given in a woman's voice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but I don't know, it felt, since he was mourning his daughter and his wife so much in the show, it just felt kind of odd to be like, this is gonna go off the rails, so hold on to your chair.
And you mentioned the raid in passing, and this definitely reminded me of that movie. And for those of you listening, if you're not familiar, the raid is I believe it was a 2011 Indonesian action flick, which I highly recommend. No reservations. It is. If you liked what you've seen in The Punisher, 87 Last Kills, you would enjoy the raid. Except that actually has a more fleshed out story and time to set up more, well, better set pieces and more interesting set pieces. But this definitely felt like a condensed, pared down version of that in a lot of ways. And I mean, well choreographed, a lot of it really brutal. Especially the guy, God, was he being stabbed with like a fork or just like a knife in the diner, like just
Yeah.
over and over and over and
That
over
was a
again?
pen,
And
and it was fucking
it was a pen,
brutal.
yes.
Oh God,
It
the
was an
big
ink pen,
muscular
and I
tattoo
wrote that
guy.
down. That was
Yeah.
the most
Yeah,
brutal death. My God.
yeah.
That
So,
like the kind of like shaking he's doing as it's going in. Yeah, it's
Oh
yeah.
insane.
my. I didn't even
Whew.
know you could get a pen through someone's skin, but I suppose you could if you had enough force behind it.
If you're
Wow.
Frank Castle, yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
really.
God. That was so brutal.
Yeah.
Um, I have not seen this movie you guys are referencing, so
Oh, the
I,
raid.
I,
Oh,
yeah, I
Oh,
don't know
highly, highly
that.
recommended.
But a much more recent thing that it reminded me of was an episode of season one of Alice in Borderlands where they're at the apartment complex for that game. Since this
oh.
was entirely at an apartment complex, and it was, I mean, that one is like one guy hunting everybody, but this one was kind of just everybody hunting the one guy instead. So kind of a flip of that, but
Hmm.
just
Well, we're
it's
throwing
a
those out.
fun setting. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't
What?
feel like as many things have been made. I don't feel like it's an overused setting.
Hmm.
Well, you say that I'll throw out Carl Urban's Judge Dredd movie. Similar
Ooh.
premise in terms of like, hey, there's this one apartment complex and we're just basically going to fight our way up it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that that helps a lot in terms of like budget, in terms of focus on what it is, and it also becomes a really great platform for really like this is the pure brutal, like either hand to hand or like gung fu that we're going to go through. It is a great vessel for doing that and just really focusing in. So I think this definitely used that appropriately.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just well done with balconies and staircases and apartments. And I mean, honestly, what a fun place to have a all out brawl in, just because you can make every apartment a little bit different, and you also
Hmm.
get the added benefit here, plot wise, I guess, if it's a very minor element, but like people obviously live in the apartments, so that's yet another factor into is he trying to save them or just trying to kill these people trying to kill him, or where does the line get drawn there too?
This is a
And
minor note, but I really appreciated it. Is the reloading and watching of ammo and then having to switch guns as he ran out of ammo from one gun to another.
mm.
It felt very Golden Eye-esque in terms of like him kind of like checking and stuff like
You
that.
just
I
lowered
thought
Justin's score by three. I hope you're happy.
that
uh,
it was an element I definitely saw and I appreciated. I was like, this feels different and new. Like I don't see that very frequently in film, so I want to call that out.
yeah, I mean, and any nod to realism when there's guns being involved in an action scene is usually welcome because so often it'll just be like, oh, the whatever clip was in this guy's gun just happens to fit in my gun. But yeah, and seeing that that's not actually the case here, I appreciated that, despite the
Yeah.
golden eye connection.
It seemed like he was just, at first I thought he was literally gonna kill a guy, pick up his weapon, kill a guy, pick up his weapon, kill a guy, pick up his weapon, and then just continually kill the next guy with the weapon he had just picked up. But wasn't quite to that level. But yeah, there was a lot of fun improvisation, but also he didn't use a lot of like melee weapons running through.
Yeah.
It was mostly gun, gun, gun. He avoided. Apparently, everybody took every fire axe out of those little
Yeah.
smash in case of emergency boxes through the whole apartment building.
I do. I want to call out the like that was an element I saw, especially in terms of the fire axe, where it was like very Assassin's Creed-esque, where it's like, oh, the heavy just showed up because they have like the big axe or something like that. So he's got to change his tactics a little bit. So it did feel a little bit like that, but like it was woven in so well, I kind of ignored it or I accepted it.
I also questioned like, obviously I haven't been in this situation, but running to the roof is a choice. I don't know. Like I was like,
You would think down, yeah,
yeah, you would think, but
Well, maybe he was thinking you'd be able to catch Spider-Man's eye and
yeah, right.
get a ride out of there.
right.
Well, that actually I'll use it as a great transition because I think at large this film, the special presentation, the practical effects were pretty phenomenal. Like it did a great job both in terms of violence, but also making it practical. But as we're talking about the roof, that does bring me to the one huge CGI element that I feel like we have to talk about, which is Frank Castle's fall from the roof onto that like air conditioning vent, which is something I very rarely speak out loud as I'm watching a film, but I saw that CGI as him falling into that thing and I went, holy shit, that looks terrible.
Oh wow, I didn't notice.
Yeah, I do
I
remember
never
that
noticed.
sequence. Yeah, I watched this like a week ago, but I do remember that sequence, and yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, like I actually saw it on social media like the day after this came out, like a
Okay.
reference a number of times, and apparently it was a stunt person. It was actually a stunt person who like fell on this, and they just digitally replaced the stunt person's face with John Barenthal's. But the best reference I heard is that it looked a lot like a PlayStation 4 cutscene. That's about the graphics fidelity of that particular falling. And Cody, honestly, if you like look up one last kill like fall bad CGI, I'm sure this will come up and you can watch it a little bit closely and be like, what the hell were they like? It was such a huge departure from all the other practical effects, which looked great. Like it's
Hmm.
just such a weird choice.
Huh. That's interesting. I thought you were at first going to say because of the fall. I was like, oh yeah, that was just in general like a human being doing that. But then they immediately followed that up with the one where he falls higher onto the buses, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I don't know if you're getting up from that one.
yeah.
But we also saw him get his ribs cracked pretty early in this entire fight shot, and he kept going. So
Yep. Mm.
Yeah, the bus fall was really interesting too, because what was immediately after this, he like saw a vision of himself walking the other way, which was very odd. Like in the midst of all, because like there definitely was the hallucinations and the kind of psychosis he was having in the beginning part,
Mhm.
and like for that all of a sudden to show up in the middle, that was also a really odd choice.
Yeah, I mean, sure, I understand probably just the adrenaline, the stress of that situation could trigger something like that, sure. But I do agree it was a little out of left field when it happened because it felt like it had been a while since the most recent one. So yeah, interesting choice.
it felt odd. I don't know. Maybe it was trauma in the moment of putting himself back out there as who he was in those moments. I mean, well, on some level, he can't even like do what he did in the last 15 minutes of this show and not have that add some layer of trauma deep in him somewhere. I
Right.
mean, you can't just kill 81 guys according to a Google search and then,
Oh, my ballpark estimate was close.
yeah, pretty close, and not
And
have
then the
that
big dude with the
such a,
pen.
oh God, that had some fun final boss feels to it,
Yeah,
but
it
didn't
really
last very
did.
long.
Yeah.
So still on the topic of like things that didn't go very well, I have to make a special call out to the audio mix. It's actually something that I paused watching this and I had to like switch to another show to make sure my hardware wasn't messed up. So my description of it is that what should be coming through the front channel is coming through the side channels. Like somehow the audio direction is wrong. It's the only show I've ever encountered where I'm like, how did they mess this up so bad? I can't hear this right.
You should have just
Uh,
looked online. It was all over the place.
yeah,
Huh.
apparently.
I don't have a fancy sound setup. I just have the speakers in my TV and I didn't
Didn't
notice
notice.
it.
Okay.
So,
Ditto.
but I could see why that how that would be really off-putting and distracting.
Yeah.
I don't even have speakers. I just have the screen.
Hmm.
All right.
I
Well, I
just sing. I
can't.
just sing my own hate breed as I watched it. Wipe your spit from my face. Wipe these tears from my eyes.
Well done. All right. Well, we know what Cody's going to karaoke here later on Man Weekend.
I grew up like this. I cheated. Although we can talk about music when you get to that section. If you got a section on that,
I have a section related to music, and all I can say is that Chris Bowers did the score, who also did the score of Secret Invasion, which this score was just as forgettable as Secret Invasion. So I can't, I don't really have much to say there.
Yeah.
not much to say on the like soundtracky, but the mic drops, the needle drops, if you will. Had
Hmm.
a couple fun moments. I liked the jumping right in with Mother, which I had closed captioning on for part of this, and most lyrics I've ever actually understood of that song, so that was benefit, you know, it's nice. Is that also the one that like gets to the end and then it got really distorted and like kind of garbledy as he like came
Hmm.
out of that too? Like that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And the Hatebreed song was fun. And then Louis Armstrong, like We're getting some of these weird juxtaposed songs with scenes in cinema these days. It's kind of,
I appreciate that when it's done well.
yeah.
Um, I I hesitate to say it was done well here, but because I do agree that overall the soundtrack, I mean, it, individual songs are they're fine as they are, but as a soundtrack, it was kind of forgettable. Yes. So,
Apparently there's seven named songs, but
huh.
I don't remember any of the other five being in there. Any of the other four
Same.
being in there, oddly.
Yeah.
El Preso by Fruco y Sus Tesos. The Louis Armstrong, The Hatebreed, The Danzig, Don't Come Around Here by Nanam Wave and Khalil. The
Huh.
Menu by Nicola Peone and Beautiful Day by Anders Lewin.
Hmm.
I don't
Zero,
remember
zero
those.
recognition on those.
Yeah.
Possibly there could have been one or two during the closing credits too, which I did not watch, to be fair. Was there a secret? Was there a stinger? I didn't watch. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
no, there was definitely not this. The stinger was that it was over.
That's
That was
yeah, that's weird. I didn't even check for the end. I always check for the end. That's weird.
Oof. Well,
they
I think you're showing your hand a bit as to what score you're going to give this.
Oh no.
they've been pretty light on those stingers though lately. Like the
Hmm.
MCU is not really like gone very far in on that. I think Fantastic Four is the last one I can remember one of.
Maybe they've learned to stop introducing characters that they won't get back to for 10 years.
What? No, they gotta have that Hercules character. Love and Thunder.
I forgot
Um,
about him, actually.
yeah, you did.
He was just
Speaking
there
of,
for the orgy.
oh God, that happened. All right. So, other connections to the MCUs I can see in the note here. Dave rules, Dan drools. So, Dave, even though he hasn't been on a podcast since God knows when, he somehow managed to edit my notes and insert himself into this one. So, there you go, Dave. There's your cameo.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, I guess you fuckers don't get edit rights for my note documents in the future. All right, set up for brand new day. Yeah, nothing. I can see nothing of this like feeding into the Spider-Man film. I was really expecting. I know I said this with the Daredevil Born Again season two. I was really hoping that there's some kind of like setup plot reference of some kind to this next big street level New York movie coming out. But nothing. I would be very surprised if there's any kind of reference back because I we joked about it earlier, but I don't think the kiddies should be like, oh, "Who's this Frank guy? Let me go look up and see this Punisher series."
It that's just, I mean, similar to Kingpin, right? Very odd how he's dually presented in Disney. I shouldn't say Disney, I'll say Marvel properties, right? Because you had Kingpin Netflix, and then you had Kingpin Hawkeye, which was a
Yep.
very different Kingpin, and now we're back to like the original Kingpin, it seems like, with
Yes.
Daredevil and Punisher, and then we have at least the trailer for Brand New Day, which I can't imagine Punisher's going to be this Punisher in the Spider-Man movie,
Right.
rated PG-13 with Tom Holland, but
Ooh.
so where that goes, I'm not sure. And then also, like, the end of this, I think, was supposed to kind of, you know, you're not getting that direct connection, but I guess that's what they're using as the bridge to be like, okay, now he kind of recognizes life in other people around him more so than just killing people that are evil around him. And that, like that little
Mhm.
girl, I mean, maybe that was just enough to flip the switch for a little bit longer with him and
I guess
care about
maybe.
society around him a little bit more. I don't know. I'm reading on Reddit here too, and somebody was like, there wasn't much of a plot to this, and somebody else was like, it was a special presentation. Like it was only really meant to like have you see the character and get to know the character a little bit more if you didn't know the character
Hmm.
a lot
Well,
from like having never seen the Netflix stuff. But he was in Daredevil season one, so
yeah, and
Yeah.
Born Again season one and the Netflix series season two. But you're right. I forgot that kind of like, I mean, the stinger is almost that end scene where he actually shows up in costume, right? And he's like full
Hmm.
Punisher
yeah.
as I would think from the comics.
Yeah.
In that, I guess if this entire show is kind of like why he's putting that suit back on, why he's donning the skull again, I guess I can see it from that justification angle. It's just that like that was a lot of killing for us to get to him like, knifing a neo-Nazi who threw a dog at a truck.
I mean that guy needed it though. Let's be
He
fair.
did, oh, for sure, for sure. That is totally justified. It's just like that could have gone longer.
Yeah, he should
Yeah.
have been the one getting the pen treatment.
There you go.
At least
Yes.
the guy's hat didn't get blood on it. Got that going for us.
Yeah, nice and clean. There you go.
Thought they were going to. Yeah, I didn't know where this was going to go in the end, actually. If for a split second I thought some bizarre route was going to happen where we were going to end up with like Punisher cleaning up the neighborhood and then he was, which he is kind of doing, but like he's the protector of the neighborhood at this point and like crime's going to stay away because the Punisher is just cleaning up the city as a good deed to the fellow residents of the city, which I was like, I don't know about that, but it
Yeah.
didn't quite go that far, thankfully.
All right. Any kind of closing thoughts before we get to the ratings on this?
Mhm.
And I do kind of want to do a time check. Are we over the length of this actual show in terms of just talking about it?
I don't know.
We're getting
I don't know.
close, I
We're
think.
nearing it.
Yeah, we're pretty close. I don't know what time we actually hit the record at, but yeah, I don't know. Final thoughts on this one. It's interesting. It was one that I was ex interested to see, but I don't know that I was necessarily excited to see. I do love the character. I do love him as the character. I was curious where he went, if anywhere, after Daredevil season one. Apparently, he's just doing bloody fingered pull-ups in his apartment, which was that it? That I was kind of glancing up and down as that was happening, so I was starting my note sheet. Was that intended to, or did I just miss parts? It almost looked like it was shot in such a way that we were supposed to take it as like he was basically like being held prisoner, like chained from something. It's like showing like the blood dripping down, and like his hands are up like this, and that's kind of the only thing I associate that with.
Hmm.
And then like it started showing like doing pull-ups, and I was like, wait, what?
You could stretch that and maybe say that's a metaphor for him being like a quote unquote prisoner of his PTSD for so long and finding the strength to push beyond that by the end of the special.
Hmm.
Maybe. I admit that is a pretty large stretch, but you could make an argument.
And then he rips all that stuff off the wall in his apartment too.
Yeah,
Was
right.
that pure like PTSD rage, or was that because he had killed the whole family off and was done with it? Like he
I
seemed upset when he was ripping it.
yeah. I definitely saw the pull-ups as like he was just pushing himself to the point of like beyond exhaustion, to the point where like his body was giving up on him.
Hmm.
And then yeah, the ripping the that Charlie Day that
Yeah, yeah.
string map off the wall was really interesting because that was kind of like one of his signatures as his short cameos in like Daredevil Born Again season one. And one of the things about Punisher, I would say in the Netflix so far, was that like he was a lot more like he had a path, he had a plan, he was getting his revenge, he was like working his way up the ladder, kind of almost it's a weird reference, but almost like Deadpool-esque. And then I guess if you keep looking at the show as like this is the breaking point where he's done with revenge and now he's just out there for vengeance or for punishment. I guess that's one of the the milestones along his path is that he ripped down the plan. He's like, I'm done with all of my plotting, and now I'm just going to go out there and punish as I need.
There wouldn't be any reason he would have left the mom alive, though, right? I mean,
I don't like maybe he wasn't aware. I don't.
Yeah, maybe he thought she was dead, and she was just crippled, as a result of the attack. I don't
well,
know.
there's that point too, and I don't know that that really matters, but I was curious about that. Like, did him shooting her son in the back seat cause her to be crippled? Like, did he do that to her, and then now she's in the wheelchair, or was she like that beforehand? I don't know. Or I don't know if it matters either, though. So
Fair.
Yeah, I'm
we
not sure
just,
on that one.
I guess she got away, so I guess she's able to pop back up later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I learn anything from Peaky Blinders, you take out the fucking wife, because otherwise she's going to come back in next season, take you out.
There it is. I
Exactly.
think
Oh,
that lady will be the ultimate big bad in Spider-Man.
Oh my God. Nochi?
Yep.
That'll be it. Peter Parker's like my
Who's
ultimate.
Scorpion working for?
Gotta mess with the family, Frankie.
I'm pretty sure the
Gotta
MCU
mess with the family.
would not put the okay stamp on Spider-Man beating up a paraplegic woman.
But what if she gets Doc Ock's like robo arms? And
Well,
so
I
she's
mean, okay, fair.
Ooh, yes. I think that's how Brand New Day's about to start. Spider-Man's going to swoop down to save that neo-Nazi split second before whatever blade it was that hit the guy in the back. I forget what it was, but
Yeah. So we definitely just wrote a better film than we're going to go see in a couple months. So.
for sure. I mean, they don't come to us. I don't know why. They should.
Seriously. All right, let's move into ratings. Let's go ahead and start. Cody, I'm gonna put the onus on the first rating onto you.
Okay, I don't have a number down yet, but I'll ramble until one comes out of my mouth. So, no, I just rambled a bunch of my ramble stuff. So, I will say this going into whatever number I'm going to pull out of my ass here in a second. One of the things I am a big believer in, I know Dave has his convoluted rating system. I like to think I don't. However, I will say this too, since I actually grade wrestling matches weekly for my other social media accounts. I have kind of, and I do believe it's true for anything. I mean, just one genre, but you kind of, I think, always have to rate something for what it is, right? If I'm going to compare this to the greatest cinematic movies I've seen, or even a lot of stuff from the MCU, it falls way, way, way short because it is super short. It doesn't have a fully developed plot. It's basically an excuse to have one 15-minute fight scene. And it would have a pretty low rating compared to a lot of the other stuff. Or at least I couldn't say, like, that was an 8, so this has to be like a 4 by comparison. But I do believe when I rate a lot of stuff that I always have to rate it for what it actually is as a separate rating. So I would have to say for a 40-minute special on Disney, which has the explicit purpose of being hyper violent as an introduction to this character, featuring his trauma and featuring his fighting abilities. And it is really like like an 80s movie, you're right? It's just like, now I call all the bad guys in town in to come and attack you at one time. It was really fun. Like, yeah, those 15 minutes were super fun. Like, I mean, just watching him get past all of those people. I'll go, I'll say, I'll say 7.5. With my little note on there that compared to a full length movie, is this a 7.5? No, I don't think so. But purely for what they made, how well did they make what they made, I think is kind of more what I'm saying. I did enjoy the fighting, and I do think he's a very deeply demonized in his mind character that I sympathize with the guy. I do. Like, if something happened like that to my family, I can't because I live in the real world. I realize that, but I would love to be a guy who just goes on a fucking justice tour and like, listen, I'm coming after you, bitch. We're gonna kill all of you and your family and your little black bodyguard that's gonna put you in the car and save you, and you're both going down too, and everybody's going down here.
I'll use it as a side note that bodyguard is apparently a major Frank Castle villain called Barracuda, but like they
Oh.
made no kind of reference to that in any way. He just shares the name, so it seems likely. And I think one of the directors kind of mentioned like, yeah, our plan is that is Barracuda, but like at the same time, I'd argue like nerds, what does it add to the great MCU? But
It was a fun little like
something.
timing twist though, because when I first saw her and that guy, the bodyguard, I was like, oh, these guys are gonna fucking tussle, and then later I was like, oh, he must be the final boss, and then nope.
Expectations subverted.
Yes.
Twist.
So 7.5 on my end, I will say.
All right, we got a 7.5. Let's hear Justin's.
Well, I have two main takeaways from the special. One of which only came to mind
Is
as
one
we
a
were talking.
boner?
No, Cody. No, it's
A
not.
gun boner. What?
And if you want a gun boner,
We had to work that in somehow.
If you want to work it
So yeah, takeaway number one, which was inspired by the chat we've had back and forth about how this feels like, in terms of like the action sequences, like something out of the 80s. And the more I think about it, the more this really kind of makes me want like a Streets of Rage movie, because I could see the action scenes,
Yeah.
if they were portrayed in this fashion, maybe a few less guns, but I mean, that would make a hell of a fun film.
This guy's getting Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat in the same year, and he's not happy. He wants Streets of Rage, and he's getting Resident Evil. Oh my gosh!
The Resident Evil doesn't look good though.
How dare you? It's going to be
Fair.
fantastic.
okay.
All right, takeaway number two. Watching through this, like it just with the various themes and stuff in play, it made me realize I hadn't watched First Blood in a while. So it inspired me to go back and rewatch First Blood, and I forgot how good that movie was. So those are really the two main things I took away from this. Otherwise, it's ultra violent, but ultimately forgettable. Like Cody mentioned, there's not really a fully realized plot. What we get is fine for what it is. It's a spectacle, but that's really it. And I mean, this isn't like the first time this character's ever been seen in the MCU. He has, he's shown up in other venues and such. So I don't know. It just feels like this didn't really need to exist. For what it is and how it presents itself, I guess it's fine. But will I really think much about this a month from now? Probably not. 5 out of 10, very average.
I'm going to make sure I bring this up as often as possible a month from now. Setting an alarm on my phone right now.
Oh my. All right. Well, if you thought Dan was going to come in with a really high rating because it was the MCU, sorry to disappoint you here. A lot of the criticism we've already said, I think applies to this in terms of like, I think this even give it like 20 more minutes to like set up some characters and not have this like Nochi be like, remember how you killed my whole family in scenes you've never seen before, so you definitely couldn't remember, but I'm saying this like dialogue so that it could fill this in and just give a like
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
I mean, like signs like that are a clear indicator for kind of like how forced this was, and all they had to do was give it a few more minutes to kind of reference the flashback. And like if you're showing the PTSD, like what a better way than to show flashbacks of all the violence he's already incurred before, and then you could fill in the Gnocchi family, and make it a little bit more organic when you see her and go like, oh, okay, there's this one last member of the family that's causing all of this. So I think like that kind of like the plot forward, like it or the plot lacking really hinders my review of this. I think in terms of the implementation of this, the mechanics of the fighting, aside from that one CGI scene, like really phenomenal. Probably some of the best pure like action that the MCU has done. I give him a lot of credit for doing the level of violence. I mean, he's just shotgunning people, and you're seeing blood splat on the wall. Like, what other MC movie even gets close to that? So I give a lot of credit to that. That was very bold. That was very impressive.
None of the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
TV shows maybe, but
it that much effect without any substance behind it. It kind and it had I not seen it, had I been more like Justin who hadn't seen like the Punisher series, I don't know how much I would have emotionally gotten out of this, considering like they give you very little Frank before he goes into like Punisher mode.
Mm-hmm.
And I do so it feels so weird to say this. The audio problems and the one bad CGI, like it was like you had 45 minutes and you couldn't get these couple things right. Like it felt very odd. So all of that, and in my rating, now I'm going to sound like Dave a little, my rating is all about kind of like how much you can recommend this to other people. I think that there are some people that this is their jam. This is what they want. Like what was the band?
Hatebreed.
Hatebreed.
Like Hatebreed should include this as like a supplemental on their next CD. But like that's not your bread and butter MCU audience. Like it is definitely a subset of that. So there's a subset of people I think this is perfect for, but unfortunately it's not the majority. Like I have zero interest sitting my family down, being like, "Let's watch Punisher: One Last Kill." It's not
Come
going to
on.
happen. No, it is definitely not going to happen. So that ends up causing me to give this a rating of 6.5 out of 10. It really, and that just reflects I can't recommend it to a lot of people. There are some people that are going to love it. Like I can really respect it for what it does, but it is not something like I I can't look at a kid and be like, "Oh, if you want to get ready for a brand new day, you got to watch this One Last Kill." Like it's that kind of collision I have with it in the overall MCU. Like I'm totally okay with the Marvel Knights in terms of the comic line that was like super adult and was not meant for kids. Like it's great that that exists, but it's such a weird departure and suddenly to inject it in. And again, I will stand up for like Moon Knight should have had it first anyways. So that's where my rating comes in.
Is that a bad thing that they are giving us some of those darker takes, though, and some of these side projects that you don't need necessarily to have watched to, you know what I mean?
Totally not a problem at all. But
Like
much
when I,
like the
like when I
Marvel,
heard you just say it's not for most of the MCU audience, and I'm like, is that a bad thing, though? Like, I don't know that that in itself should be a criticism of
no,
the
it
property. I'm
it's not.
occasionally disagreeing.
There you go. No, you're completely right. It's not a detriment, but it is something that you have to like be aware of that the reason the MCU did so well is that it had this really broad appeal. I could show it
Hmm.
to my mom.
Mm.
Well, my mom would watch this because she's weird, but most people's
I
mothers would
watched it with
not
her
watch
actually,
this.
so
Like this is not something you sit down with your grandmama and show her, but you could show your grandmama like, Captain America, the first one. So
right.
it's the element of like, and I'll reference the fact that you go into a comic book store and of the Marvel titles, there's some that like you have Jeff the Land Shark, and you could show any kid that comic, and that's a Marvel title. But there is I picked up where did I pick up like Werewolf by Night with a MA title because he's like chewing his way through zombies' necks and like the blood spurting out. Like those are all Marvel titles, and we can have that kaleidoscope. We can have all those different titles. That said, I can't hand my Werewolf by Night comic to like my nieces because that's not going to go over okay with the rest of the family. But I can show them Jeff the baby land shark. That's fine. And it's that fact that like it's a reduced audience, so it's a reduced focus, and like even in there, it's not as it's not as holistic as I wanted it to be in terms of you need another 20 minutes to establish a character, to give you more background, to give people like Justin a chance to get a lot more familiar and give some more of the cadence behind Frank so that you could feel a whole lot better when he got that one last kill. Which let me also ask this question. What was the one last kill? I think Justin, you made a joke like the
Yeah,
81 one last kills.
yeah,
Like the
yeah.
title didn't make sense either.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't get the one last kill, but maybe that's showing us that he's got another one out there to get you.
I
One last
guess
kill
like
still. I don't
if
know.
his last thing would have been a mercy kill of Monucci, like that, I would have felt a whole lot better. That would have felt like
Mhm.
an arc, but we didn't get that.
Or
No.
maybe the neo-Nazi was one last kill in the show.
But that was it. Definitely wasn't going to be the last. That felt like the one start kill.
We gonna get
Right.
that puppy justice. Regardless, we go. Did anybody think? I didn't think they would, but did anybody think how they shot all of the flashbacks Ma was talking about? They never showed his face. Did you think there was like even a slim chance that this was a swerve somehow or something else was going on? I thought it was really weird
Oh.
that they didn't show his face. Like it was from her perspective entirely, which I kind of appreciated.
I noticed that, but I did not go like they don't have enough time to put a twist into
Right.
this.
Exactly. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would have been phenomenal though. Like
Mhm. Yeah, it would have been. I think it could have made a stronger feature if they had done that. But like you said, not enough time to branch off like that. They barely had time for what they had.
Frank
So
Castle is here. He has a gun. Oh no.
credits.
Come on, that was my bullseye impression. Where you guys at? We
I got
just
it.
did
I
this
got
podcast.
You didn't put your headphones on, your big headphones on.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so adding those together, I'm coming out with a total of 6.3 as the average rating on this.
Oof.
Good enough to pass.
I mean,
Thanks,
like
Justin.
Hey, I tried.
It's not a tank, but it's not a big sell. Again, I really strongly believe there's a very specific subset audience that's going to love the crap out of this.
Mhm.
But I cannot imagine me like we referenced Hawkeye earlier. Like I've sat down and I've rewatched certain episodes or certain scenes from Hawkeye like a dozen times. Like it's one of my like Christmas. Like I'm going to rewatch a little bit of Hawkeye here and there.
I
I
love
can't think
Hawkeye.
of a moment where I go like, you know what? I need a little bit of like one last kill.
Hmm. How old are your kids? Your kids are older, right? Yeah, they're
Yeah,
already.
18 and 14.
Yeah, you should have already reached that age.
Yeah.
Wait, which ones? You have boys or girls?
Boy 18 and a girl 14.
Oh, you probably got like a year then you want to put this on then.
Oh yeah, in the background while
When that
we're
girl
doing
gets
the
about
eggnog.
15, 16, you'll be
Yeah.
like, I gotta go in the study, guys. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Just
Walk back.
Thanksgiving dinner. Yeah, forget the Lions game. We're watching
Need to
One Last
understand the
Kill.
use of the tactical
There it is.
knife. Okay,
Yes.
look at how you can take down the
You
neo-Nazi.
see? Do you see this? Fire axe, bad, too slow. Big swing
slow.
radius. Pay attention,
Mhm.
kids.
Check your ammo.
Gasoline coming under your door? It's cool. Just stand there. Let your legs burn.
Thank you for bringing. I mean, like, full credit to John Barathol. That was a great effect. It looks great on film.
That was pretty cool. I
Oof.
felt bad for that family across the hall, though, boy.
Oh yeah, exactly. Which,
Was he in the
by
wrong
way,
apartment, or did they just get the wrong door?
well, I assume it was just general violence. They're just doing everything
They're
to
just-
everyone.
Crushing everybody.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Then again, homicidal maniacs not the best with numbers. They easily could have inversed something.
Yeah, also, I was thinking on that side of it as well. Like, she calls out this hit on everybody to come get him, and there's guys with like machine guns and all these other things, and then somebody else shows up with like a lead pipe and is like running
Yeah.
around with the guy with the machine gun. And I'm like, who do you think's gonna get the kill? You with the lead pipe?
So totally, guys, this wooden bat. I'm in for it.
Like you're gonna be more likely to die than anybody. You're running around with this idiot with a machine gun in front of you. What are you doing?
What was that? Austin Powers, who's like, "Are you kidding me? You're a minion."
Yeah.
Who throws a shoe?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Ah.
That's funny. All right, where are we going to next? Mandalorian and Grogu?
Oh yeah, that's next week.
Mm.
Let's brace ourselves for whatever that ends up being.
Gonna be so good.
Force this week with this one. All right. Well,
Ooh.
I've been Dan. This has been Cody. This has been Justin.
Mhm.
Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you next week. Another episode of Fondy.
See you
Take
guys.
care.
Thanks.